Hey everyone, welcome to No Ideas Media. I'm Nick Syke, and I'm super excited about these next 10 videos because they're a collaboration with one of my favorite science communicators, Jack Bobo. Jack is an internationally recognized food futurist and speaker, and the mind behind FuturityFood.com. So Jack reached out to me with his new series of articles called Why We Fear the Food We Eat, and we worked out a way to deliver the content from those articles in video form. With that in mind, Jack and I are proud to present the Food Fear series. Preservatives, artificial food colorings, gluten, hormones, steroids, antibiotics, GMOs. The grocery store can be pretty scary these days from a certain perspective. I mean, our news feeds overflow with influencers and celebrities talking about potent food additives or ingredients, and sometimes we hear they'll be the death of us. Sometimes we hear they're the next new miracle food. Now, despite the feelings of suspicion that these conflicting reports might give you, the fact is that our food has literally never been safer than it is today. So why are consumers more worried than ever about the food they eat? Also, if we're living in a time where information about nutrition is easy to find and widely available, why are issues like obesity at an all-time high? That doesn't make any sense. Has the rise in clean eating and the marketing of natural foods actually made our food feel safer? Maybe not. In an effort to sell us a premium product at a premium price, these trends leave us less than certain and less than confident about all food that isn't premium. The proliferation of new diets isn't making us healthier, it's just making us more confused. According to a survey by the International Food Information Council, the IFIC, consumers actually consider healthy food choices harder than doing their taxes. So what do? How can we sort through all of this alarming noise and reduce food anxiety and make good diet choices that will give us the healthy lifestyle we all want to enjoy? Actually, it turns out that there are really clear psychological principles underpinning the confusion and fear we're all feeling about our food. The way our brains process information has a lot to do with how we respond to food marketing, from the labels on the packages and the products on the shelves to the recommendation of social media influencers. I mean, we are bombarded with messages and information just as we walk down the aisle of the local grocery store. Gluten-free, GMO-free, cage-free, pesticide-free. The more things that are absent from a product, the more a company can charge for it, apparently. Today, the average grocery store carries about 40,000 items. The dizzying array of food information in the modern world is it's too much for the average person. And it's just like one more thing that we've all got to keep up to date on. Having to sort out complicated choices about food can easily feel like just too much to manage. And our overworked brains, they're looking for any shortcut. And psychologists refer to the mental shortcuts our brains use as heuristics and cognitive biases. And these are important concepts in understanding how we make decisions or form opinions. All right, so heuristics are rules of thumb that help us efficiently solve complex problems by kind of ignoring some of the information. Heuristics keep us from going crazy by reducing the load on our mental processors, but they can cause us to oversimplify things too. Mental shortcuts can kind of leave us susceptible to influences that we might not recognize. Sometimes these overly simple rules working in the background can lead us to bad decisions. A heuristic that consistently gives a bad result, or like a systematic error, is called a cognitive bias. To a large extent, who we are is really shaped by these invisible influences. When we're making judgments and decisions about the world around us, we all like to think that we're being objective and logical. But unfortunately, biases can really trip us up there, leading us to poor decisions and bad judgments. These really powerful psychological forces can even lead us to choices that are totally at odds with our actual goals, such as nutritional health. You really can't believe everything you think. Okay, so that's kind of the mile-high view, I guess, but I want to illustrate this more clearly with the example of confirmation bias, which is a cognitive bias that we have all 100% experienced without a doubt. So confirmation bias is the tendency to interpret new evidence as confirmation of our existing beliefs. So without really realizing it, we seek out information that confirms our beliefs, and we ignore or discount or just don't pick up information inconsistent with our beliefs, because it's easier to stay where we are than to change our minds. The really frustrating part is that it is super easy to see confirmation bias in another person, but it is almost impossible to get that person to see it in themselves. Just like it's also remarkably difficult to recognize it in ourselves, because that's the nature of heuristics and biases. But by learning what they are and facing them head on, we can figure out how to perceive them and their effects, and we can escape their control and make our choices rationally and logically like we wanted to in the first place. So confirmation bias specifically, though, influences so many of our food decisions. From the products we buy to the brands we follow, our perceptions, our likes, our dislikes, they're all shaped by our existing biases. With each new fad diet, for example, confirmation bias keeps us believing in the potential of the diet long after the evidence is in that it just doesn't work. With every pound we lose, we credit the diet, gain a couple of pounds back, and we blame our lack of willpower. We forget that in order for a diet to work, people need to actually be able to stick to the diet. We make excuses for the failures of the products or the companies we like, but we question the successes of those we don't like. So the bottom line for this video is, there's no way to avoid all of these potential biases. And taking automatic shortcuts is just the way our brain works. And you and I and everyone else, we're just soft, squishy brains, like inside of a meat puppet. That isn't going to work well all the time. But being aware of the biases and shortcomings that are typical of human soft, squishy brain functioning can make a big difference in giving us more rational control over our decision-making processes. Our goal here is that you will fear less and enjoy more the food that you eat. And trust me, it's possible. We will get there by learning some pretty curious facts about how our minds work. Jack will write it, and I'll produce it, and we'll just have something fun and awesome to watch and learn from. I'll also link to the actual article that this video is based on, but I also want you to check out Jack's 2018 TEDx talk called Why We Fear the Food We Eat. That talk specifically actually really helped inform our approach at No Ideas Media, and I think that you'll like it, and if you watch it, you might understand a little more where we're coming from. See you next time.